You're watching the Legal Breakdown. So, Glenn, this is the first episode of Legal Breakdown since Fox has settled with Dominion. That settlement was for $787 million. It was reported by Law and Crime that Fox brought in $1.2 billion in earnings in 2022, meaning that in one fell swoop, more than half of their annual earnings were just wiped out by this lawsuit. They've still got the Smartmatic lawsuit that they're contending with, another defamation case. That's for $2.7 billion. And then, of course, there is the prospect of yet another lawsuit on top of that brought by their own shareholders here. What does this mean for Fox moving forward?
It could mean insolvency. I mean, you have to wonder if Fox can weather this financial storm. Think about this. Dominion sued for $1.6 billion. Now, presumably that had something to do with the valuation of Dominion voting systems and the amount of financial damage, including future earning potential, Fox's defamatory lies did to Dominion. Well, you know what? Smartmatic is suing for $2.7 billion. So if you figure Fox had to settle a $1.6 billion lawsuit for nearly $750 million. How much are they going to have to pay out to make the Smartmatic suit go away? And here's the thing. Fox is now operating from a position of extreme weakness because once they settled with Dominion, Smartmatic is going to be so emboldened to go high, to go hard, and to really wring every last penny out of Fox. So you've got another settlement that is likely in the offing, the Smartmatic suit. You also have shareholder suits being brought by Fox's own shareholders against the Fox Corporation. You've got one of Tucker Carlson's former producers suing Fox. I mean, you really have to ask yourselves, can Fox weather this financial storm?
And this may be more of a financial question than a legal one, but what happens in the instance that Fox has multiples of its own annual revenue just being wiped out with these cases?
Well, I know if it happened to me, I would declare bankruptcy, right? I would just go out of business. I would fold up my tent and try to find some new line of work. So, you know, I am not an accounting expert, and I don't even play one on TV, but it really is an open question whether Fox is going to go belly up, or, you know, whether they have enough in reserve, whether they have enough insurance coverage to kind of weather this financial storm. But here's the thing. This settlement and these suits that are being brought against Fox, I believe, Brian, will only inspire more suits and more suits to be brought. And I would like to think that, you know, this settlement and the others that may come will at least tamp down or deter others from engaging in the kind of blatant democracy busting lies that the Fox News was in the habit of broadcasting. So I think right now, you know, this is a win in lots of different ways, not only for Dominion, but even if only as a byproduct, it's a win for the American people.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but at the same time, I think the first statement that came out in the aftermath of this settlement was that Fox just repeated its claim that whatever the president says at the time is newsworthy, and so we were justified in our coverage. So, you know, I wouldn't hold my breath in terms of Fox finally seeing the light here. But with that said, why would Fox's shareholders sue here? What is the reason? And beyond that, what's the likelihood of success for them?
Yeah, it's called a derivative lawsuit. So the shareholder, you know, the board of directors, the executives, the officers of the Fox Corporation have a fiduciary duty to the shareholders. One of those duties is to make sure you put people in place and mechanisms in place to make sure that your news programs, your anchors are not defaming people, are not intentionally broadcasting falsities such that you're opening the corporation up to civil liability. And it's pretty clear that the executives and the officers of Fox Corporation just badly fell down on that duty, on that responsibility to protect the shareholders. So this is not the first shareholder derivative suit that's been brought against Fox. They've been sued several times in the past, and they've had to settle with their own shareholders. In 2017, there was a suit brought by shareholders concerning some sexual harassment that was apparently running rampant at Fox. Well, they settled that for $90 million.
Was that the Bill O'Reilly case?
I think that was part of the Bill O'Reilly case.
Or Roger Ailes. There was Roger Ailes, and yeah.
Yeah, it was running rampant, it
Yeah.
seems. And they had to settle that rather than actually, again, go to trial and try to defend their own actions. In 2013, there was another derivative shareholder suit brought against Fox. That one was settled for $139 million. It had to do with a phone hacking scandal in London. So, Fox is no stranger to, recklessly and negligently running the Fox Corporation, and as a result, having to pay out to their own shareholders. So, this is another potentially major setback and major financial hit that Fox may have to take, because it's pretty clear that the settlement that they had to pay $750 million to Dominion because they had defamed Dominion, boy, that's going to put wind in the sails of this shareholder suit. So, Fox better strap in, because they're going to have to write a whole lot of big checks.
We spoke about the potential for a settlement in the last Legal Breakdown episode. I feel somewhat vindicated here, because I asked, why would Dominion really care about bringing it to trial if they could settle for as much money as they would have gotten anyway? Because why would they actually care about defending democracy if their ultimate goal was just to get paid? I'm vindicated, if not saddened, by the fact that ultimately played out that way, that defending democracy, that bringing these people to court to get their words on the record wasn't a part of their plan. But with that said, will we see the same thing from the Smartmatic case? I'm generalizing here, but it doesn't seem like the issue of protecting democracy is any one of the top 10 issues that motivates any of these companies as they're going to court.
Yeah, that's a great question. There are some companies, some corporations, some businesses that have a real social conscience. But let's face it, at the end of the day, it's called a business for a reason. They're going to make business decisions about, Smartmatic is, I predict, about whether they should settle with Fox, depending on what kind of a number Fox is offering. And, that only makes sense, because they do have a responsibility to their employees, to their shareholders. And here's the thing. The lawyers that represent the Dominions and the Smartmatics of the world, their job is not to zealously defend democracy. Their job is not to zealously represent the interests of the American people. Their job is to zealously represent their client, whether it's Dominion or Smartmatic. So yes, I suspect at the end of the day, we're going to see another settlement. It will frustrate us, because Smartmatic has already promised, in the aftermath of the Dominion settlement, they put out a statement saying something like, half of Fox's misdeeds were disclosed, were revealed in the Dominion litigation. Well, guess what? The other half will be revealed in the Smartmatic litigation. Let's hope they're true to their word.
So before you mentioned insurance, I'm curious how that would work, because wouldn't this fall outside of the purview of something that an insurance company would actually insure a news organization for? How does lying and basically airing defamatory statements fall into the purview of something that would be permissible by insurance coverage?
Yeah, I am not an insurance expert, but my understanding, Brian, is, you can write any kind of an insurance contract that you're willing to pay for. So what I will say is those other two shareholder derivative suits that I mentioned, the one in 2017, the one in 2013, where there were big Fox payouts, the reporting is that insurance covered some or most of those payouts. So, even when it looks like it comes to not just negligent misconduct by a corporation, but reckless and perhaps even intentional misconduct by a corporation, look, you can write an insurance policy to cover anything. The question is, what kind of premium are you going to have to pay when a company has a track record of operating at a minimum negligently, such that there is big payout after big payout after big payout? And I haven't seen any reporting on whether this $750 million payout to Dominion might be covered in part or in whole by insurance.
Was going to be my last question here. Will there be a point at which we do find out whether or not these payouts are covered by Fox's insurance?
There are probably all kinds of non-disclosure agreements that are entered into between insurance companies and the people and the companies they insure. But I do also believe we have a lot of really good investigative journalists out there who are able to, weasel information out of any number of sources. So I would say stay tuned for that.
Okay, and let's finish off with this. Everyone's looking to what's next. So what's the timeline here for this Smartmatic case?
I don't know if there's a trial date yet set in the Smartmatic case, but here's the thing I'm going to be looking for. Fox has a track record of violating discovery obligations and of making misrepresentations to the court, so much so that the court sanctioned Fox. And you know what? Let's be clear. There is probably some relationship between the fact that on the morning of the settlement, before the parties settled, the judge appointed a special master to dig into Fox's discovery violations, gave that special master carte blanche to conduct any and all depositions of folks over at Fox to try to uncover any other, violations of discovery or of court rules and orders. And all of a sudden, after that, what do we get? We get a settlement. Could it be that Fox was still trying to protect itself against that kind of intrusion by a special master? So, against that backdrop, I would say, let's see if Smartmatic files a motion saying, Judge, the litigant in this case, Fox, has a proven track record of violating discovery obligations and making misrepresentations to the court. So you know what, just to be safe, we are also requesting a special master be appointed. If I were on the Smartmatic legal team, I think I would absolutely file a motion like that.
Okay. I do have one more question. I know I said the last one was the last one, but I'm just curious, what's your takeaway here from this case? I know a lot of us on the left, myself included, even though I expected this, are upset at the prospect of Dominion having settled. But I'm just curious what your takeaway is, because, a lot of us just want to see Fox go down. But coming from someone who has a legal background, how do you think this played out?
My takeaway from this is it's kind of a win-win, because Fox really inexplicably waited until the last minute to settle. I do think the appointment of the special master had something to do with that. But so much of the damaging information was already revealed to the public about Tucker Carlson, for example, saying Sidney Powell is lying and then feeding those very lies to their viewers. So I think, the sort of cumulative effect of everything that we've learned. And, if Smartmatic can be taken at its word, we're going to learn a lot more about the dirty dealing behind the scenes of Fox News. I think, it could reach critical mass, and it could sort of end up in a place where Fox News is so badly damaged and diminished, and perhaps it can't even remain a going concern and it goes belly up. So I think things are trending in a good way for the American people, but in a really bad way for Fox News.
Don't talk dirty to me, Glenn. All right, we'll leave it there. For anybody watching, if you want to keep on top of this upcoming case now, this Smartmatic case, as well as the derivative case brought by Fox's own shareholders, make sure to subscribe. The links are right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.